Wonderful. Well, today we have Ceslee Frost joining us from Ventura, California. She is an elementary school turned preschool director and owner. She runs her own in-home childcare center, and she works with her daughter. And during the COVID pandemic, kind of found a space in social media, creating TikTok videos, sharing what it's like to be a preschool director with fun activity ideas. So yeah, thank you very much, Ceslee, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. So to get started, could you just tell us a bit about how you got into the early childhood space and what brought you into childcare?
Yes, I've always been interested in children and loved children. I started babysitting very, very young, 10, 11, 12 years old, and spent most of my teen years babysitting and spending time with children. I have older sisters, so they had children, and I spent time with a lot of children through them. And I've just always loved spending time with children and knew that was a career path that I wanted to do.
Wonderful. And so was there a specific experience that motivated you to become an early childhood educator?
I think that my grandmother, because she made my childhood so magical, that I've always wanted to do that same thing for children and create experiences for them. To have a wonderful childhood has just been a passion of mine.
Wonderful. And so what was your path getting to where you are today? You told me earlier you studied child development.
Yes. After high school, I went to a community college and studied child development. I wanted to be a preschool teacher. And I quickly realized that there is not a lot of money in the preschool field at all. So I kept going and became an elementary school teacher. Once I became an elementary school teacher, it wasn't what I really loved doing. My passion was preschool. So during that time in California, a lot of teachers were getting pink slipped and lost their jobs. And I had only been teaching for a year and a half at that time. So I was unemployed for a year and realized I would like to start my own preschool. And I did that by getting a childcare license and starting at the bottom and growing to where I am now.
Wow. So you've seen a bit of it all.
Yes, I have.
If you want to touch up on just the experience of opening up your own childcare center from start to finish of, the licensing and enrolling families, and how you can see in your background, you have all these curriculums and activities behind you.
Yes, it didn't start that way. Everything I have built here took 10 years to build. It just started with a small in-home daycare where I just wanted to be around children. And at that time I had a small daycare. So I found local women in the community that also had home daycares, and we got together like a co-op, and we'd get together at the park or each other's houses, and I would teach preschool to the children. And at that time we had infants, toddlers, and preschoolers. So I would take all the preschool age and do circle time and preschool activities, and we'd help take care of the kids together. And we did that for about 3-4 years before I was able to get a large license, which would allow me to have 12 kids instead of 6. And at that time, my daughter needed a job. She had just finishing a nanny job. So we decided together to get a large license and turn it into our own preschool together.
Wonderful. And so you operate from your home?
Yes.
Nice.
And then in 2019, I bought a home specifically for the preschool. So that's when we really blossomed. In 2019, we were able to buy a property with a huge add-on and a separate backyard and a separate entrance. So it looks almost like a facility, but it's part of my home. So that's when we really blossomed and started being preschool only, no more toddlers.
Wonderful.
And changing the program quite a bit.
And so now you have 12 full-time enrolled.
Yes. We have 12 every day. Right now they range in age from 3 to 5. And it's very successful. Some stay half-day preschool only. We still do extended day, but only till 4:30. So it's not a full daycare day. Our hours are, we have early care as early as 8, and they can stay as late as 4:30, but most kids come 9 a.m. to 12:30. So it's much different than a daycare where I first started. It's much more like a preschool now.
Mm-hmm. Great. So as a director and owner, I'm curious to get your take on what are the most important qualities to have to be successful in this space and create a childcare, center that fosters the feelings you want to foster.
Yes, I think the most important thing is to have a really good handbook of policies. And something like that takes years to create. Mine started at 2 pages and now it's 15. These are things that you have to experience over time and things that come up, and you make a policy about it, written down on paper. Lots of little things come up for us and it just becomes a policy. and you have to stick to your policies and
I'm,
have a contract as well.
I'm curious if you have any ideas of those policies, like a very specific, maybe a story.
A biting policy or, a late policy, or teachers. A lot of teachers don't work in the summer. I'm year round. What do they just not come for the summer and not pay and get their spot back in August? My policy is you can go half rate during the summer and pay half of your normal full-time rate and attend 2 days a week to hold the spot. Or some people take school age kids in the summer to fill those spots. That's just one policy that I came up with. When it was more of childcare, for example, a mother has a baby and takes a maternity leave and she wants her younger kid home with her, but then wants the spot back. We can't just leave that open, for them. It needs to be paid for. So you should have a policy on that. Either they pay half rate or you'll hold the spot for a certain number of weeks, but everything needs to be written down and set in stone so that you know what to say.
And so when people join your center, you give them that policy guidebook for them to review.
Yeah. So they read my handbook and I have them sign it. I also have a bullet points sheet that kind of maintains like every little thing. If a child is seen in the emergency room or spent the night in the hospital, I think they should stay home 48 hours after that. That's my policy. It's just, for safety reasons, if they're sick or, I came up with a lot of new policies during COVID regarding illness. I had a stricter policy during that time. You just have to have policies and they have to be known and follow them. It's the only way. And it has to be, it's a very loving family environment, but it also needs to be run as a business-like situation.
I definitely see, many providers get into this with that love and desire to provide the care, but not necessarily the business acumen to set them up for long-term success. And they get plenty of challenges from parents pushing back, and, having a clear policy guidebook helps you set those boundaries very
It's so hard, oh, I'm running late. Is it okay if I'm late today? And oh, that's fine. That's fine. And then they just start taking advantage of you and you don't charge your late fees. And, you feel bad about taking a vacation. It took me 10 years to get to the point where I am now, where I do not feel bad. I was closed all last week and they all paid. I was closed for my vacation and I used to feel so guilty about that. All new childcare providers do, but we need that time off and we deserve it. And they are paid for their vacations and we should be too.
Exactly.
That's something you have to deal with in a home-based situation. A facility doesn't do that. It's just me and my daughter. We have to have time off. In a facility, they can hire subs, but with children, subs don't really work. You need to be bonded to the children. Some stranger coming in to a 2 or 3 or 4-year-old does not work. They don't know that person. Subs are very difficult with this age of humans.
Definitely. So you said it took you 10 years to get to where you are today. I'm curious, where do you see this going in the future? Do you want to expand the center base?
I really love, people had asked me that before if I wanted to do that. I don't know if I want to do that. There's so much insurances and everything you have to do and you lose touch. I don't want to be a director that just sits in the office. That's the part of the business I love the least, is the business part. I like working with children. So if I was a director, I'd hire a bunch of young people to do the job of children and I would be the manager. And that's not what I'm interested in doing. I love working with the children.
It's funny you say that, because us at Playground, we kind of make the software support exactly that. So you can spend the time with the kids and really do what you love and not worry about the business and all the back end administrative work.
Yes, that is exactly why I was interested in getting a platform like yours, because the business side is my least favorite part. Come tax time, I just have a huge pile of receipts and things, and even keeping track of the parents' tuition. Sometimes I don't even pay attention. I'm just so focused on the children and the curriculum and everything I'm doing that the business side gets set to the wayside. And I don't want to hire a bookkeeper. I don't want to hire a manager. That's too much money. I want to do it myself, but in an easier, effective way.
Yeah,
so everyone should.
That's music to our ears. That's exactly what we're on the same page there.
Yes, and I've been doing it myself forever and thought I had it figured out, but it's just, especially with the large license that I have now, and just it gets challenging.
Yeah, I'm curious. Are there any specific moments that made you look out and see, is there anything out there that can help me with these challenges I'm facing?
Yes, I have some parents pay for 4 weeks at a time or want to pay monthly, and my tuition is weekly. So I had a couple of parents paying 4 weeks at a time. And then I looked back, I finally did some paperwork after 6 months. I wrote it all down and did it on paper my old fashioned way. And I realized 2 parents were 2 weeks shy of pay, and they didn't even realize they were doing it because they were paying ahead. In my policy book, it says to add up the number of Mondays in the month, and if you want to pay monthly, that's how much you pay. But sometimes there's 5 Mondays in a month, and I don't think they were deliberately not trying to pay. But after going through the paperwork and spending an hour on it, I noticed that a couple of people were short a whole week's tuition, and that's not fair. And I don't want to have to worry about that. If I wouldn't have caught that, I would have just lost the money.
Definitely. Yeah. I
That
mean,
is why I
with Playground,
into this software.
yeah, with Playground, you don't have to worry about any of those things.
Yes,
So
and then late fees as well. I don't like charging late fees. It's embarrassing. I write up a piece of paper and I hand it to you. I just feel like, oh, I put it in their cubby, but I feel like such a jerk. If it's automatic on the app and they sign out 5-10 minutes late, they're gonna to learn not to take advantage of us, because we can be taken advantage of very easily.
Yep.
Because we love the kids and we love the families, and it's hard to say no.
Yeah. There's definitely 2 parts to running a childcare. One is the warm engaging with the community, and the other part's running the business. And we like to say, you know, with Playground, you're professionalizing in a way of sometimes putting a wall between yourself and the families you serve, with late fees, with the tuition charging, these processes that happen behind the scenes. You're not even involved in it anymore. You're reviewing it, but you're not the one handing the slip anymore. That late fee goes up on their account, and you know, you're not having to deal with that potentially uncomfortable exchange saying, you know, this is what you owe me for showing up late. It's in our policies. It happens automatically. You don't have to think about it anymore.
Yes, I have parents asking me for tax receipts, you know, in February, March, April, May, even June. They've done them late, and I haven't even given it to them yet. I say, oh, of course, and I go and get it together, and I look up old Zelle receipts, but I don't take very good care of that side of the business. And I can give them everything they need, and I write it all down, but it's just be so much easier if they can pull that up themselves.
Definitely. Well, happy to hear that. We're speaking the same language.
Absolutely.
Nice. So I'm curious to see, you know, what advice would you give to someone who's interested in opening their own early childhood center, in-home daycare?
My first advice would be to make sure you really love being around children. Children can be very challenging. And a lot of people want to do it just because they have children of their own and they want to stay home and take care of them, which I actually did when I was a young mother as well. And my mindset was different at that point. Luckily, I had a child development background, but a lot of people get into this and only like their own children. You have to love all children. So you have to really spend time with other people's children before you make a decision to open a home daycare, and make sure this is something you really want to do. And you've studied child development and you appreciate the differences between children and adults, because they are absolutely different.
Yeah.
That would be my number one advice.
Awesome.
Besides having very good policies, read other people's policies and come up with your own. Borrow other people's handbooks to help you come up with your own, and build and revise them over time. Edit them every year to change your feelings and change how you manage things. We edit every year. I do a new handbook and updates and edits every year, because things change.
Yep.
Your needs change. Your program changes.
Yep. Wonderful. So you're talking a bit about, I mean, right now you're saying things change, and this industry's changed a lot, and it's been affected in a lot of different ways with COVID, post-COVID now. I'm curious to get your take on kind of what are the biggest challenges facing early childhood.
I think there's 2 big challenges. One that I'm seeing a lot of older preschool teachers and childcare providers notice is that children today don't appreciate, we're not as exciting to them as we used to be because of the instant gratification of technology. Or if you have a child who plays video games at home and watches YouTube all day, we can't compete with that. It's just not as exciting. So, you know, children do change over time, but I've found a lot of teachers that are retiring saying that they can't keep up with it. They're just not as excited about what we're doing because we're not watching YouTube at preschool and we're not doing those sorts of things. So that's a big challenge. Another challenge is cost. Childcare is very expensive. I feel bad charging the prices I do, but that is the going rate, and it is high. I can't imagine paying those rates for 1 child or 2 children. It's very expensive for parents to have to work.
I'm curious if you can share, what do you charge for a typical week at your childcare center?
Right now, a full-time, full-day week, which is 8 a.m. to 4, is $300 a week per child.
And do you do sibling discounts or anything of the sort? Nope.
No,
Okay, so one standard rate. Good.
no,
Nice.
one standard rate. So if you have 2 kids, that's $600 a week. That's quite a bit of money to pay. And that's just my area. In San Francisco, it's way higher, or, a couple cities away, it's way lower. It can be anywhere from 150 to, 400 a week. And infants and toddlers are even more expensive. I have preschool age. It's gone up a lot over the years. I started at 175 10 years ago.
So do you have any ideas on how to address these challenges, both the one of competing against YouTube, for example, and the rising costs?
I don't. It's difficult for me because I believe that all children should have access to free preschool, but then I would be out of a job if universal preschool took over all of our home-based providers. So I feel confident that I'll be able to keep my job because I'm private and small, and some people will still want that. But I believe that it should be income-based. I think low-income families should be offered free preschool and free childcare because they can't afford it. And it changes children to be in a preschool setting before kindergarten. It benefits them in so many ways, mostly social, emotional development. Academics is one thing, but just being around other children and other adults taking care of you is really important before you enter school.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So I'm on the fence. Some people are very against the UPK because universal preschool, because it's going to take our jobs away. But I love children, and I think that I know so many children that couldn't afford my program. And I think that everyone should be able to go to preschool.
Do you accept subsidized care in your center?
I do. Yes. So I have only one child that's subsidized right now, but I do accept subsidy. They pay a little bit less, but the parents will pay the difference, and I absolutely accept subsidy.
Nice. And so you said it was you and your daughter who are the, sole operators of this business.
Yes.
I'm sure it gets tiring at points. I'm curious what you do to manage burnout and just keep, stay motivated throughout all these years to continue doing what you do.
Well, luckily we have much shorter hours than we used to. So we can take turns taking time off. Like right now, the children are here. She is with the napping children in our preschool area. I could go back and let her have a break and even leave. We have half as many kids after 12:30. So with a 6-to-1 ratio, one of us can leave. Before that, if we had 12 all day long, we were both stuck here all day. But now half of our kids are preschool only, and we have a lot more time on our hands. Burnout can be huge. I used to work 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. for years, and we piggyback it now. If we have less than 6 kids, there's only one of us here. So one of us can come to work as late as 9, and we can go to appointments because we have that flexibility now. We do a lot of fun things together on the weekends, and I try to make it, as
it seems like you got it to a place where you guys are able to, live the life you would like to live. And
yes, this is very new. This is just
place.
about the past year we've been able to do this. But before that, we were both here all day, and it was a lot, not having a second to go to a doctor's appointment or doing anything during business hours. So it's nice to have that flexibility now.
Very exciting. Wonderful. Yeah. Well, I mean, plenty of great things to talk about. I'm curious, looking back 10 years from now or 12 years when you started the center, what would you do different? What would you tell yourself getting into it?
I would tell myself to follow my policies, because at the beginning I didn't, and I had to graduate families out before because they were so used to the way I was doing things. And I became stricter on my policies as time went on. At the beginning, I ran it more as a mom. I felt like I was a mom to all these kids, but I'm not their mom. I'm their teacher. And I have to remind myself that I'm very maternal. My daughter says that to me all the time. Don't get worried if they don't eat something or they're not doing, I get very passionate about them. I feel like they're all my children. So I'm running it more like a business like I am now. I should have been doing that a long time ago.
Right. And I know during COVID, you got into the social media space.
I did. I didn't think it would blow up like it did. It's not huge, but I posted a video about one particular video about running your own business, working 24/7. And, I didn't want to work for someone else. So I started my own business, and now I work 24/7. It was just kind of a joke. And that video went pretty viral pretty quickly. Not not quite 1 million, but almost. And I started receiving a lot of followers, and it was pretty exciting that people were actually interested in what I was doing here. So I continued to post videos.
And what would you say is your content? What do you post about typically?
Mostly preschool activities, anything related to preschool.
And where can people find you? What's the
Ceslee Loves Preschool is my TikTok channel, or just my name, Ceslee Frost. But I think at Ceslee Loves Preschool, all one word, should be able to find you. Find me.
Wonderful.
Sorry. Yeah.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Well, Ceslee, thank you very much for all your time today. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and sounds like you have a great childcare business going. So I wish you all the best as you continue to pursue it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.